There was a point in time when Dana White, head of the top MMA promotion UFC, would not hear of women fighting for him. That all changed in 2012 when he signed Ronda Rousey, and followed the huge success and popularity of Rowdy, he soon reversed his stance and the women's UFC divisions were born. Today, we are discussing the most insane knockouts in women's UFC history, so stay with us. First up, we have Jessica Andrade. Stay tuned. Andrade was most recently out just a couple weeks ago, scoring a submission win over Amanda Lemos, which was actually the first and only ever standing arm triangle choke recorded in the UFC, which is some achievement. But back in 2018 at UFC 228, she absolutely flatlined Karolina Kowalkiewicz, more known for her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Vale Tudo skills. She also possesses insane power for someone so small, and she has even been compared to her fellow Brazilian Wanderlei Silva for her no-nonsense, all-action swinging style. Kowalkiewicz was unfortunately on the receiving end of. In the very first round, the pair were involved in an exchange, and Andrade landed a punch for the ages flush on the jaw of Kowalkiewicz. The pole was sent directly to the canvas and was out before she even hit the ground. Visibly shaken, it took her some time to come back around and cemented Andrade as one of the biggest punchers and most dangerous ladies in the women's strawweight division. Do you guys remember this one? Let us know what you thought below. Next up, we're talking about Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina is widely regarded as one of the best female fighters on the planet right now, and for good reason. And back in 2019, she delivered one of the most devastating head kick KOs of all time against the ever-game Jessica Eye. In the second round of their women's flyweight championship fight at UFC 238, Valentina sent shockwaves around the world after brutally sending Jessica to sleep with a kick flush to the side of her head. The pair were feeling each other out, and in one split second, Eye dropped her guard to possibly attempt an attack, but Shevchenko, being the world-class striker she is, pounced on her opponent. She delivered a perfectly placed head kick, which sent Eye straight to the canvas, and a concerned referee straight to check on Jessica, solidifying Valentina as one of the pound-for-pound best strikers on the planet. The Kyrgyzstanian-Peruvian fighter is currently on an 8-fight win streak after her last defeat against Amanda Nunes, and it has been suggested that she could take on the Brazilian one more time before the pair eventually retire. And having lost both fights against Nunes so far, she will surely want to rectify that. Irina Aldana is stopping by next, so stay with us. Mexican fighter Irina Aldana can probably best be described as a journeyman fighter, but her knockout of Ketlen Vieira in 2019 at UFC 245 will go down as one of the most brutal ever delivered in a women's UFC fight. In the very first round, Aldana stepped to Vieira with a picture-perfect left hook, which sent the Brazilian directly to the canvas, without passing go nor collecting $200. The blow was felt throughout the women's division and made the top-ranked fighters sit up and take notice. As Vieira was loading up for an attack, Aldana swooped in, delivering one of the knockouts of the year with such force that we fully expected Vieira to have sustained a broken jaw at the least. And just to make sure, she followed her to the ground to deliver another couple of brutal blows, which were probably unnecessary. But hey, that's the game. Do you remember this one? We're talking about Amanda Nunes now, so stay tuned. When Amanda Nunes versus Chris Cyborg was booked for UFC 232 in December of 2018, the whole world of MMA was incredibly excited. The bout pitted two of the greatest of all time up against each other, and the intrigue surrounding the fight was palpable, and it did not disappoint. Nunes landed one of the most terrifying blows ever witnessed in women's MMA, connecting with a huge overhand right which sent Cyborg to the shadow realm. Cyborg had thrown a left jab, but Nunes, who had read it like a book, countered instantly with a huge right which left fans the world over speechless in shock. It was only the second loss of Cyborg's career, and she hasn't lost since, but she only fought one more time in the UFC, possibly because she knew that whilst Nunes and her world-renowned power were still around, she might have no chance at recapturing her featherweight title. Although Juliana Pena recently proved Nunes is not unbeatable, so who knows if Cyborg could ever be tempted back to the top promotion. Up next, it's Holly Holm. This knockout was one of the biggest shocks in the entire sport of MMA up until this point, and was the beginning of the end for the phenom that was Ronda Rousey. After dominating the entire Strikeforce and UFC roster for years, Rousey came up against the excellent Holly Holm at UFC 193 in 2015, and the preacher's daughter executed her gameplay superbly. Rousey did not. Ronda decided it would be a good idea to chase a world-class boxer down, which of course opened up gaps in her defense for Holm to exploit, which she did with aplomb. In the second round, Rousey launched an attack at Holm, but was clipped on the way in, which caused her to stumble. As she was getting back to her feet, Holm unleashed a textbook head kick, which landed flush on the side of Rousey's head. She was sent straight to the canvas, and Holm jumped on her straight away, delivering another couple of blows before referee Herb Dean could even react. Brutal. What is your favorite Holm performance? Let us know below. Another Jessica Andrade KO now, so stay tuned. This one one was truly terrifying and bore resemblance to the famous Rampage Jackson KO of Ricardo Arona. In the second round of her title fight against strawweight queen Rose Namajunas, Jessica, who is also renowned for the sheer power she possesses, as we noted earlier, manhandled Rose by locking in a single leg. But instead of taking her down as many would have expected, she decided to lift her up into the air like a rag doll and slam her down on her head. The slam, of course, knocked the champ out as she landed on the back of her neck and announced Jessica Andrade as the new women's strawweight champion. Unfortunately for the Brazilian, her reign as champion didn't last long as she came up against the terrifying Zhang Weili in her next fight. But the belt is now back in the possession of Rose, so we could easily see a third fight, which would be the rubber match between the pair should Rose get past Carla Esparza this coming weekend. This one was truly terrifying. What did you make of the Andrade Slam KO? Let us know below. Next, it's Viviane Araújo, so don't go anywhere. Sometimes there is a tendency for some people to dismiss a knockout if it doesn't come from a particularly popular or well-known fighter, which could be the case for this one. Viviane Araújo, in her very first UFC fight, went up against fellow Brazilian Thalita Bernardo at UFC 237 in 2019, and the impact of the knockout would signal the end of Bernardo's UFC career. In the third round of the fight, Araújo delivered an overhand right similar to the Nunes one against Cyborg, which landed absolutely flush in the face of her opponent. Bernardo, who was also in the middle of throwing a left jab, was instantly sent crashing to the canvas, and the referee was on hand to stop her from receiving any more punishment on the ground, as he instantly waved off the fight. A terrifying knockout. Do you guys remember this one? And finally, it's Ronda. There was a time when Ronda was just armbarring all comers, but she decided to mix it up at UFC 190 against Beto Correia, laying a serious combination on the Brazilian challenger. In the very first round of her sixth title defense, Rousey had Correia pinned against the fence and was literally teeing off on her, in the words of commentator Joe Rogan. She delivered two solid left hooks, which rocked the challenger, before hitting her with a short right to the temple, which knocked her out completely. Correia, having offered very little in the way of defense, face planted onto the canvas, and Ronda picked up her 12th career win in a row. However, although it was possibly her most overwhelming performance in the UFC, it was also the last time she won in the promotion, as in her next two fights, she was knocked out herself after coming up against Holly Holm and possible women's GOAT Amanda Nunes. Do you remember Rousey dominance in the UFC bantamweight division? What was your favorite performance of her during this time? Let us know below. As always, thanks for dropping by today, and remember to join us next time for some more fun and games. Also, feel free to share today's video with any MMA fans you might have lurking on those socials, as well as subscribing to our channel so you don't miss out on future content. Bye guys, Jerkon.